Man, college football kicks off tonight. USF hosting Boise State. My old friend Dirk Cutter is going to be in the building doing something for Boise, I think, at Raymond James Stadium. We have college football week 1, not week 0, not the diet version. This is week 1, and man, the schedule is just full, and I can't wait for Ohio State and Texas and some major marquee matchups. But even a bigger bonus is this. We get to talk to our old friend Matt Baker, who is a college football writer for The Athletic / New York Times, formerly of the Tampa Bay Times. We used to talk to him every single week, but we get him on week 1. What a treat, man. What a change in the landscape of college football we have to discuss, as well as all the programs in the state, Florida State, Miami, Florida, and, of course, your USF Bulls right here in Tampa. What a tough 3 games they have starting their season. So lots of college football talk coming up here in just a minute with Matt Baker of The Athletic. But first, I want to remind you guys to get on down to Breitling Boutique. That's where you're going to find the best Swiss watches you've ever been made. The Breitling Company's been in business for over 140 years, and they've been in International Plaza now for 5+ years. If you're looking for the greatest timepiece, men's watches, the Chronomats, the Navitimers, women's watches, they have beautiful sports watches. These are durable. They're also very, very beautiful. That your wife or girlfriend can pick from an array of different colored wristbands to go with that. And while supplies last, and that's important, they've been celebrating the NFL's 104th year anniversary with 32 different team watches, one for every team in the NFL. They've got the team colors on the face of the watch, the logo inside. Go to tampabay.com, likely to see an ad for Breitling Boutique with the Buccaneers team watch. It's Breitling Boutique. Enjoy the customer service. Go in there, find out about these timepieces, have a drink, spend some time. They're going to treat you like a celebrity that they serve every single day. Make sure you let them know that you heard about it right here on Sports Day Tampa Bay. All right, we got one of the biggest treats of the year for you guys today. This used to be a weekly segment until my former colleague, Matt Baker, went all big time on us with The Athletic and the New York Times. And, you know, he's the big shot now. But he's really doing a terrific job covering college football for those organizations. And we have him tonight. We have him today to talk college football with you. What a great way to kick off the college football season with one of the most knowledgeable people about the game. Matt, it is great to have you. I kid because I love, but happy for you and your success. You're doing great work now at The Athletic and busier than hell, and I would imagine it's about to get even more so now that we got college football.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Always great to be on. And here's how big time I am. The last time I was on the show, I was sitting in this exact same spot in my on my bed in the bedroom because the sound is better. Except this time there's a bunch of laundry there that we got to take care of later. So yes, very very big time.
You've been humbled, I can tell. That's right. No, but actually, it's a great job and it's a great organization, obviously. And man, you guys cover college football like nobody's business, and that's what you do individually as well, and did it well for us now with The Athletic. So let me ask you, when you get to this point in the season, I mean, there's so many changes; it's almost hard to keep up with how fast the landscape is changing in college football. But man, there's nothing like opening week, right? Like this is what we wait so long. It's been that case with the NFL. We're still a couple weeks away from that. But I mean, how exciting. You've been through all the conference meetings, right? All the media days. Like, how special do you think this year in college football is going to be?
Dude, I'm so ready for ball. Like week 0 was very nice, right? We had Farmageddon, Iowa State, Rocco Beck, the pride of Wiregrass Ranch. Like
That's right.
it was great to watch. You see some Stanford. Like it was a very nice appetizer. But this offseason was wild, man. In terms of
Mm-hmm.
the NCAA versus House lawsuit and players getting paid. In terms of all the ACC, Florida State, Clemson lawsuit being resolved. There's still ongoing stuff with the Mountain West and Pac-12, and like there's been so much off the field stuff. Just bickering in terms of what's the playoff going to look like, how many conference games, all this stuff that like. Again, we pay attention to it; it matters, but that's not why I'm in this job. That's not what I why I love this stupid sport. I want to watch some 20-year-old like muff 3 punts and some guy like make a ridiculous interception. I want to see what Arch Man is going to do, right? Like that's why I love this sport. And so I'm so excited that it's finally here, and that not only is it here, but like it's a banger week one,
Oh my
right?
God,
I mean,
yeah.
starting with USF Boise as one of the first couple games,
Hmm.
like that's I don't know that I'm gonna say it's the G5, G6 game of the year, but it is a very big, very enticing matchup. And then you go all the way through, all the way until Monday with Belichick's debut against TCU. There's a bunch of really big bangers in here that I'm excited to see what happens. Get going, man.
Yeah, no, it's time to get going, and we're going to talk about all that in those games too. You mentioned the ACC, and I know obviously all the stuff you did when you were with us at the Tampa Bay Times. The survival of this very conference has been something that you have written about extensively, and of course, no less than Florida State, Miami, part of that. So tell me, why is this a big weekend for the ACC?
So when you think about go back to like 2016-ish, I remember being in Charlotte for the AC, or I guess it would have been 2017 after the 16 season. I remember being in Charlotte for the ACC kickoff, and they played the Imagine Dragons song on Top of the World as they
Hmm.
kind of got things going. The ACC was arguably, maybe not even arguably, the best conference in the country, right? You had
Wow.
Clemson had just won the national championship.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson had just won the Heisman. Florida State beat Michigan in the Orange Bowl. There's some
Hmm.
other pretty darn good teams in there as well. They were for that year, that moment in time, they were the best team in the in the country, or excuse
Wow.
me, the best conference in the country. So that on top of the world, I think that was legitimate. And then you look at where they were now, which was up until recently. I don't think existential brink is too strong of a phrase. And look at where they're going, where, I won't bore you in the moment with the realignment, Super League, all that stuff, those conversations. But like 29 to 34, like stuff could get crazy in the landscape. So where I'm going with this is the ACC needs to start winning some big time games, I think, if they're going to get to where, if they're going to be a power three, power four league, whatever that looks like. So here's what they got, right? Syracuse has Tennessee, top 20, Tennessee, a top 25 team in Atlanta. You got Florida State against Bama, a top 25 team. You got Clemson LSU, which is one of the games of the weekend, top 10 matchup. You got Virginia Tech against the South Carolina team that's in the top 25. You got Miami Notre Dame on Sunday night. Again, then you got UNC and TCU, another marquee power four on power four matchup. So that's kind of what's set up for the ACC, where if they're going to establish themselves as the clear number three conference for whatever that's worth, then they need to win those. And if we're going to talk about everything that goes on with the playoff, and are some conferences going to have more auto bids than others, and all that stuff, like the ACC, it's they just need to win. They just need to start winning these games the way they did, in that 2016, 2017, 2015, that era, if they're going to reestablish themselves.
Yeah, and yet, out of all those teams you just mentioned, Clemson is probably still the preeminent one. Somebody I heard say today that they could go potentially undefeated. I don't know if that's the case, but we know that FSU has, for whatever reason, fallen back, and Miami could be very strong. But they open with what, Notre Dame,
Hmm.
which is one hell of a matchup. And it might be harder for Notre Dame than they realize, perhaps. But new quarterback down there in Miami and all of that. I mean, you got to have your marquee names, your brand names have to rise back. The Florida States, the Miamis, right? And we'll see what Belichick can do with UNC. I mean, it's got to be led by your brand teams, right?
There's no question. Like I was looking at Virginia Tech earlier today. They have a losing streak against Rutgers and Purdue. Virginia Tech
Wow.
does. What in the name of Michael Vick is going on here? Right? Like
Right.
go back to 2000 and say, "Oh yeah, in a little bit Virginia Tech's going to have a losing streak against Purdue and Rutgers." No one would
Uh,
believe that. That's
yeah.
that's non that's nonsense. And then
Yeah.
you look at Clemson hasn't been as good lately. At Florida State, we all know what happened last year. We can talk about that more if you want.
Sure.
Miami still hasn't been other than the flash in 17. They still haven't really been Miami. So yeah, if the ACC is going to be a really good league again, there's the potential because Clemson, Florida State, Miami, when they're clicking, they can all win national championships. We've seen it. Maybe Virginia Tech could get there again. Maybe Georgia Tech can be really good again. Um, you know, Syracuse is certainly on an upward trajectory right now. Who knows about UNC? Are they are they the sleeping giant? Are they always just going to be kind of mid? I don't know. But at some point, if the ACC is going to be really good, it's going to be the big brands that lead them, and this is a really big opportunity. Just one more thing on Clemson, because I wrote a selfless plug. Wrote a story about Dabo the other day. I I find what they've done really, really interesting because for a long time, and I'm sure we talked about it, particularly with like the Clemson Florida State game a couple years ago, where Dabo did not use the transfer portal at all. And in 23, Florida State was very heavy portal, and that led them to the 13-0 start.
That's right.
Dabo has started to use the portal. He's dabbled in it a tiny bit. But if you look at the roster that he's assembled, where almost all of it is homegrown, I think of all the contenders, all the legitimate national title contenders, they've got the most returning starters out of anybody. Cade Klubnik, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think I feel best about him as the safest option of the quarterbacks in the top teams in the country. Most returning production in the country. Everything is set up where because Dabo was so transfer phobic for so many years, that led to this returning nucleus that it has, including TJ Moore from Tampa Catholic, where this might be the year where, okay, we all got our jokes and ha ha ha, Dabo's a dinosaur, ha ha ha. He might have the last laugh this year. That's totally on the table.
Now, that would be interesting because what kind of change would that usher in? Because I think that the genie's out of the bottle, the toothpaste out of the tube, whatever you want to say. Um, Maybe what he did in keeping those guys here is going to pay off now, but what does he do when they pass on? In other words, is he going to be able to go down this road? Because I'm telling you, all these other teams, it's obviously become pay to play and all that. But I mean, you see quarterbacks, going from one program to the other, and you can get really good in a hurry, or you can get really bad in a hurry. And I just do you think his path will just be his path, or if he has success, people will look at it and go, let's zig when they zag. Maybe we should do what Dabo does.
I think there will be some if this works, and work doesn't just mean national title or bust. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
fair. But if it works, I think we can start to see some of that. Right? It's
Hmm.
a little bit of like the Rays Moneyball type thing, where
Yeah,
in this case the schools that don't have the Dodgers Yankees money, they might need to do something different,
sure.
and their secret sauce can be no, we're not going to go buy $1 million edge rusher in the portal because we can't afford it, but we can keep our edge rusher that we get as a maybe a mid 3-star guy, build him up, get him in the weight room, get him in the system for a couple years, and then suddenly he plays like a 4-star, right? Maybe that's a way, the old school way. Maybe that becomes more in vogue, and talent retention becomes more important than talent acquisition, which is a little bit different than it is now. The other thing that we have to consider in all of this too is what are contracts, right? Like
Well,
the,
yeah.
these are they're not unpaid amateurs. They're not quite professionals, although they kind of are.
Hmm.
So where I'm going with this is, a lot of these players have multi-year contracts.
Right.
So, but they're not to play football. They're for NIL and this, that, and the other. So, what's going to happen when a handful of players say, you know what, I'm transferring, even though I signed a 2-year deal with UCF, Florida, pick your school.
NIL, yeah.
Right. Okay, is it really a 2-year contract? Is there
Is
a
it
do they have
enforceable?
is
Yeah.
right, did they have to pay something back if a player
Hmm.
transfers from UCF to Florida? Does Florida have to pay UCF money, right?
Right.
Like, how is this all actually going to work? And I tie that in because maybe there is a way where there is more stability in this industry where talent retention does mean a lot more and is a lot more feasible too.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable, but of course, when you start talking about contracts, then the next thing you start talking about is unionizing, and that's what college football and everybody on that side don't want. So what are the rules, right? Are these going to be collectively bargained rules? Are they going to be NCAA imposed? Like, who's going to come up with this system, and how are the players going to accept it? I'm not really sure, but
No one is.
yeah, but that's why we're in the Wild West phase of college football right now. Um, all I know about Miami is that they had the best quarterback in the NFL draft last year playing for them, and they didn't get over the hump. Now they have Carson Beck, who's transferred there, but I hear their defense is legit. Like, what can we expect from the Hurricanes this year? And they have like I said, an awful big game against Notre Dame.
How long have you done this show, Rick?
A while,
So I was
2,000 episodes,
okay. Okay, I don't know how many of them I was on and how many
a lot.
preseasons I did. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah,
Um, Steve, just go ahead and find whatever I said about Miami,
just
literally any
ditto.
other year.
You can say ditto. Yeah.
Yeah, I never know with Miami. I just don't. Um, could Carson Beck, if Carson Beck is 2023 Carson Beck, certainly I think the run bank game at Miami is going to be good. I think the offensive line is going to be good. If he's 2023 Carson Beck, then Miami is a playoff team. I think that's a reasonable, fair expectation. Especially because I do think the defense will take a step forward. But I don't love the receivers. And I don't just mean wide receivers. I mean the pass catchers in general. Carson Beck wasn't great last year, and he's coming off of elbow surgery, and he didn't have a spring to mesh with his new teammates. So like, I, there's you can see why it would work, and you can also just as reasonably see why this is like a 8-4, same old. Miami's pretty good, but not really good again. Like both of those things seem equally plausible to me. I guess I lean more that Miami should be an ACC contender because I don't think they have the strongest schedule by any means, and also like Mario has recruited and amassed enough talent where they should be better than just about everybody that they face. So I think even though he hasn't been the best game manager, to state the obvious, I still think there's enough potential and enough reasons to buy in. But like it could also just be mediocre. That's totally plausible.
I've heard that about Carson Beck. No matter which Cavender twin that he was dating, I just don't know what to expect from him. And quarterback is such a big deal. We've seen guys transfer Florida State
Hmm.
and not do so well, and then we've seen others that have done very well. So again, that's part of the landscape that we're sort of in. Okay, so sticking with the ACC, a team that you spent a lot of time with burning up that car all the way to Tallahassee and back, and probably will again at some point, I'm sure. Have they fixed Florida State? I mean, or are we headed off the cliff here? Because man, I thought for a while there this thing was back on track, and now I'm not so sure. Where are we at with the Seminoles?
What's so wild about this, other than like literally everything and that's happened in the last 2 years, but like there was a time when we thought Mike Norvell could be the coach at Alabama. Like
Absolutely,
I
yeah.
definitely had conversations with people like, is this real? Like, and if it happens, the way our job is, we have to think, okay, what's next? So like, I was talking to people, if Mike were to leave, who's on the short list at Florida State? Obviously, that didn't happen. Those things never saw the light of day. But that's the type of work that we have to do, and that tells you how seriously I at least took the Norvell to Bama rumors after Nick Saban retired. And now you're in a situation where Florida State's a 2-touchdown underdog at home to Alabama and coming off their worst season in 50 years. Um, I still wonder. I mean, the zillion-dollar question: which is closer to the real Florida State? Is it the 13-0 start in 23, or is it 2-10 last year with one FBS win by over Cal by 5 points?
Just
I,
dreadful. Yeah.
yeah, I tend to think they will be better, like more 8 to 7 wins than obviously in the 2 to 3, 4 range. But I don't think they fixed it. I don't love Tommy Castellanos. I know what he did at Boston College. There was a lot of good. There were some bad things. Did not end very well. I get the thought process why with him and Gus Malzahn and why you think that could work, but this there was enough inconsistency where I have questions. The point of optimism I would make on the Florida State side though is, and this is in the weeds a tiny bit, but when you looked at in 22 and 23, when the Knowles were clicking, they won 20, was it 23 games over those 2 years? The transfers they brought in leaned much more in terms of production than potential, right? If we think of a continuum here, where Production is a really good player at Albany, a really good player at Western Michigan. They've shown it at a lower level. Now they're
Mm-hmm.
moving up. Potential is the 5-star who played at Georgia or Alabama and was a backup.
And did
But
get to play, yeah.
right, okay. So last year when they struggled, the transfers that they brought in that underachieved, most of them were on the potential end of it, right? So thinking of a Marvin Jones Jr., who was a 5-star recruit, didn't play much at Georgia, didn't pan out at Florida State, now he's gone. This year, Florida State has pivoted much more toward the production end of it, where it's guys who, Squirrel White from Tennessee, Deuce Robinson from USC, those receivers, those type of guys who have played at a high level, or guys kind of moving up as well. Much more of the production end than the potential end. So to me, it looks like, at least on paper, they're moving closer to what Mike Norvell did when they had one of the best transfer portal classes in the country, and we're one of the best couple teams in the country as well. So if I'm looking for optimism, that's why. But I'm also like, I don't see Florida State as an ACC contender. I don't think it's anything like that. I think they're going to be back to pretty good, and then next year would look like a make or break kind of year again.
Castellanos, as I recall, does a lot with his feet, doesn't he? I mean, he's not necessarily a rhythm passer, is he?
No, and that's why you can see it working, right? When Gus Malzahn, think of his entire career. Go back to, okay, Tommy Castellanos is not Cam Newton.
Cam Newton, right?
There's
But
no,
yeah,
there is no other one. He was a unicorn. But when Gus has been successful, it's with a running quarterback, right?
yeah,
Even Nick Marshall, who was the quarterback for Auburn when they lost to Florida State in the title
sure,
game,
sure.
he was what, an NFL DB, right? Like,
Hmm.
so those are the quarterbacks who have had success, and Castellanos is definitely more on that, where he can be a playmaker with his legs, and then also kind of can beat you with his arms too, or with his arm too. So we'll see what that actually looks like, and what the potential is there. I understand it. I just don't know that he's the guy to do it, getting to get Florida State back to that 10-11 win range.
Yeah, and to your point, it's a tough league. We know that Clemson's going to be good, and we'll see what the other teams have to offer. But they need to get back there soon because you're right. Like all of a sudden, Mike Norvell, it's a slippery slope, right? You can fall down pretty quickly when you coach there if you don't rebound from that awful season last year.
Yes, and then I view so many things now. It's probably not healthy as I view this. Look at the sport as a whole, but like, I look at a lot of things through the prism of 2029 to 2032
Mm,
ish, right? Where I think there is a big bang coming. The people
mm,
smarter than me, that's the term that a guy I know uses, right? It's a big bang, where there could be a major shift in realignment. Could it
yeah,
be a super league? Could it be a real power two? I don't know what
yeah,
it's going to look like. What I do know is that a bunch of schools, and this is from the Clemson, Florida State, the highest, all the way down to, like, I did a story a week or so ago about Missouri State and Springfield, my first full time job. They're moving up from FCS to FBS. So hang with me for 1 second. Why would we care about Missouri State moving up? Well, I thought it was interesting because they were an FCS team, kind of an also ran in the Missouri Valley, which is one of the better FCS football conferences. They thought, if we're going to ever have a chance of playing basically second tier triple, or second tier football, we got to move up now, because there's not going to be any other seats available, right? the
right,
ship is
sure,
the ship is leaving. We have to jump now. And
yeah,
all of that relates to the possibility of a super league, where if the powers break away, Missouri State says, okay, we're not going to be in we're not going to be in the big leagues, but we can be in the second tier, and we have to jump now. So I say that to say that a lot of people in the industry are looking at that 2029 to 2033 ish range, and that's when a lot could happen. All heck can break loose. So say that with Florida State, because if they slip into irrelevance, that's not a position they want to be in. They want to be moving toward that, sprinting toward that, the way they were 2 years ago when they were one of the top couple teams in the country, not 2-10 or even 7-5, kind of mediocre.
yeah. It happens fast, right? Like it happens fast, man. That express elevator can run both ways quickly, from the top to the bottom. Okay, so I thought Billy Napier did as good a job at the end of last year as any coach in football. He held those guys together. They played really well. Um, my confidence level in DJ Lagway stems from his inability to stay healthy. I don't know what he's doing right now. So Is there any reason to think that if they have a quarterback who's in and out of the lineup that they're going to turn this around?
No, absolutely not. Like it
I
is.
mean,
You're spot on. If DJ Florida to me has maybe the greatest variance between ceiling and floor, maybe of any team in the
yeah,
country.
right. That's what I
Like,
think.
yeah, like if DJ is healthy, they can be a playoff team.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say national championship, but if DJ plays the full 12 games and they're in the playoff, I would not be surprised at all.
Hmm.
If DJ is banged up for one reason or another, and obviously we don't wish injuries on anyone, but it's part of the game. If DJ's banged up and is out a good amount, they could go 4-8, 5-7, and I would not be surprised. Right. Or maybe anywhere in the middle, depending on again, just DJ's health and what he's able to do. So it all comes down to him because we have seen it. His first start against Sanford, I think it was I think Kentucky. He had some big plays, and then obviously down the stretch with Ole Miss and LSU. In that, he is freakishly talented. He is absolutely freakishly talented. Um, and he has the moxie, like, it's all there. He just has to stay healthy because I think the offensive line's gonna be better. The run game's strong. I like the receivers, right? The transfer from UCLA, got Dallas Wilson from Tampa Bay Tech, Trey Wilson, assuming he's healthy, from Gaither. Like, they've got weapons. I think the defense is gonna be good enough. You can see the way it would all work, but it all comes down to DJ, and then, I mean, and Billy Napier's future also all comes down to DJ, because if he's the guy he brought in, right? Everything comes down to that. If it works, then Billy looks like a genius, and it will work at a high level. If it doesn't work, then you can question the roster management. You can question signing a guy who had been a little bit banged up in high school, the way they treated him in college. Like, there's so many different ways it can go, and it all comes down it all goes back and falls on Billy, good, bad, or ugly.
Well, they start out with LIU, and Todd Bowles will be up there because his son is playing for LIU, so that'll be at least one weekend that he can watch, and I think Florida should have no trouble with them. But yeah, it's going to be a fascinating season. I don't know which way it's going to go because I keep everything I read. This guy never seems to be completely healthy, and I don't know what to expect for a full season, whether or not he can stay in or out of the lineup. Thursday night, Matt, as you know, USF's going to kick it off a little bit earlier than some teams, and they got Boise coming here, and I believe that one Dirk Cutter might still be affiliated with that team, but so he could be at his old stadium. So USF just in general, like the first three games are murderous row. I mean, like who was thinking that this was a good idea whenever these schedules were made, probably 6 or 7 years ago? I mean, really, you're gonna play Boise? Okay, that would be a hell of a win, I think, if you
Mhm.
could beat them on opening night. And you got Miami and Florida. I mean, what's going on here?
Uh, Sometimes beggars can't be choosers. I think there's some of that where if you're USF, you want to play these big opponents, certainly Florida and
Sure, you
Miami,
do. Yeah.
right? Like, in terms of not just being able to sell that to recruits, but getting Miami and Florida in your stadium.
Yep.
That's an important thing financially. It's an important thing in prestige and all that stuff. Again, as we look to the future, if USF can win one of these games, or somehow maybe they eke out two of them,
Mm.
as we look at potential realignment ripples down the line, those are big time building blocks. Um, Boise is interesting because they return an awful lot, except for that whole Ashton Genty, one of the best running backs we've seen since Barry Sanders, minus that little detail.
Yeah.
So Boise is going to be one of the best couple teams in the group of five, probably the favorite to earn that playoff spot.
Right.
But it's certainly not a given. You look at Navy, you look at Tulane. It wouldn't shock me if USF makes a run there. I would have put UNLV and our old buddy Dan Mullen in that mix, except the opener the other night was not impressive at all. But we'll see. It was week 0. Who the heck knows? Um, so those would be kind of the top of the G5, G6, at least in my eyes. But USF is in a very interesting spot. Year 3 is typically about the time where you know what you've got with a coach. And Alex Golish, the first 2 years, year 1, he exceeded expectations. Year 2, maybe he hit them, maybe he kind of underachieved a little bit, but again, like we were talking about with DJ Lagway, Byron Brown's injury last year kind of threw a wrench into what
Yeah.
fair evaluation was. But this year, again, assuming relative health, this is kind of put up or shut up time. Like we should know by the end of this whether Alex is a coach that, he's very highly regarded in the coaching community, I can tell you that. But we should be able to see some results on the field that make you say, okay, this program is ready to start to take that step and start really competing for conference championships. Because this is about the time, you look at their spending, they're at or I believe they're number one in the country in terms, again, in the mid-major G5 level in terms of NIL spending, right? They're they're doing the right things, and it's time for it to kind of start really showing up on the field.
Yeah, and he was always known as a good recruiter in his first recruiting class. Those guys are now into their third year. This is down the road, but there's shovels have been in the ground over there at USF for a new stadium. I mean, you've talked about this on this podcast before, Matt. That's what's required these days. That could be a game changer for for a chance to go to a bigger conference.
Absolutely. That was when I started at the Athletic in October. One of the stories on my list that I really wanted to do was on USF Stadium. I did it in the spring just because obviously you and I have talked about it. The our readers and listeners here in Tampa, they know about it, but that
Hmm.
was a story I wanted to tell for a national audience in terms of the ambition of the school, and whether you think the ambition is brilliant or the stupidest thing ever or somewhere in the middle, right? Wherever you fall on it and how you think how you view that as a use of money. I wanted to tell that story, and here's why they think this is the way to go. And I had some kind of power brokers in the industry tell me, like, is it a given that if USF builds this stadium, they will be in the next version of the ACC or the Big 12 or whatever it is? No, it's not a given. However, if they don't do it, the odds of them moving up are probably going to be pretty low. Like this is kind of the cost of entry now. And then I think to the news of a month or two ago with Memphis trying to more or less buy their way into the Big 12, like that's the type of stuff that it's going to take to move up at this level. SMU, when they joined the ACC, they gave up a whole bunch of TV money. Like
Yeah.
that's what you have to do at this point. And again, I'm not saying that's good or bad. It's not my money, right? Although my wife's in grad school getting her PhD at USF, so maybe a tiny bit of it is my money.
Wow.
Um, you can tell where all the intelligence is in this household, and it's not the guy sitting here with the laundry and a microphone at 9:45 on an evening. But my point is, it's whether it's the right thing to do or not. It's what's required to have a shot. And USF for so long had not been willing to do it for one reason or another, but they're going for it now. And again, they've gone for it in terms of the stadium. They've gone for it in terms of the infrastructure. They've gone for it in terms of the football payroll. It's time to see the results. Like at some point, it's all got to pay off on the field because potential is great. It's got to have production, and I think this is a year where, again, I'm not saying they have to go in 11 games, but move up from the kind of 500, move into that win range, 9 win range. With this, I guess with a non-con schedule, maybe eight's more realistic. But be in that conversation where you're a better team with a chance to really kind of start making some noise here.
Yeah, you got to start contending for the what they now call the American, right? Um, is that what it is now? The American Conference, I believe.
Yes, it's the American. They have what's his name? Swoop is the eagle, I think it is.
Hmm.
He is not a mascot. He was a oh my gosh, what was it? A brand symbol, visual representation. I can't remember what he is, but he is not a mascot. When I told that to my wife, she was like, "How are there? How does this make any sense? Who said this was a good idea?" And as usual, she was right.
Conference, not a mascot, symbol, brand, whatever. Yeah, so good for the American, and so many teams want to get out of there and get to one of the Power Five, but we'll see if USS is among that. I want to talk about kind of a little bit of the larger landscape of college football, and look, um, not for nothing. There's a lot of great games right this week and this weekend. Not the least of which is Texas at Ohio State. Arch Manning. I mean, who can't get fired up about that? The national champions in the horseshoe. Dave Portnoy not allowed in. I mean, whatever. There's so much drama, right? But having said that, because of the playoffs, we can have these games in week 1 or early in the season, or maybe several of them even. And I think college football, like forever, however they figure this out, and for all the world, it looks like it's going to be 2 super conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC, and the rest of you can go to hell. But that aside, no matter how many teams they finally settle on, what I think college football is doing that is good, and some people think, well, you're going to kill the regular season. Now the games aren't going to mean as much. I think it's about the big events. I think it's about as many marquee type matchups you can create. I think that's what people want. Am I in the minority here? But why won't I get really fired up week 1 to see Ohio State, go up against Arch Manning in Texas? Like I want more of that. I think certainly you'll make TV money that way, and that's what makes the world go round. But um, are the traditionalists a little whining too much, or what?
I'm going to answer your question in a second, but I fact checked myself. The mascot that's not a mascot, his name is Soar. And
Sore.
he is a full-fledged brand ambassador and a
Yeah, he is.
he is a multi-platform purpose-driven brand symbol.
Yeah, he is, and he has an NIL, so
Yeah,
he's
uh-huh. I don't know
can't
what
transfer.
I don't know what a multi-platform purpose-driven brand symbol
I'll
is.
ask my wife. She's in marketing. They could only come up with those titles, which I
I
mean very little, but it sounds important. So
it sounds very important and much better than mascot.
absolutely,
So week
college
1,
football, big
college football.
events, big
Yes.
money. Like what am I missing? Because I think it's good for the consumer, which means it's good for college football. That's just my opinion. Tell
I
me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong, but there is danger here.
Okay, what
So
is it?
the danger is it's twofold. Okay, yes, we get Texas, Ohio State, and that's going to be awesome. How much does it turn people off if this doesn't really matter? And I'm not saying that Texas, Ohio State doesn't matter now, but if there's a future playoff version, for instance, where it's all
They
about
play again, and it's all or nothing.
well, that or like, you could certainly see that in some scenarios, but also just like if the only thing that matters, this was a kind of a Big Ten proposal, but if the only thing that matters is where you finish in your conference,
Mhm.
then Ohio State, Texas doesn't really matter. Then what are we doing?
Not for the
Um,
playoff seedings, it wouldn't matter, is what you mean.
maybe not. Like there's different scenarios, but my concern is okay. What has made college football great for decades is it's the best regular season in sports. It just is. And when you go back to like the BCS days, and oh my God, we cannot have a playoff even if it's 4 teams because it would devalue the regular season. I,
But that's what my generation grew up
mhm.
pummeled in their heads.
But
And
I think there's truth to it though, Rick, because here's I guess the way I say it. Every step you move away from the college football that you love, that I fell in love with, right? Every step you move away from that, there's a risk that at some point I, the consumer, I get turned off. I don't like this anymore. This isn't what I fell in love with. Where Ole Miss loses to Kentucky and could still have a shot at the playoff, like that type of thing. Bama loses to a mediocre OU team and still has a shot at the playoff. Like there's a risk that we devalue the regular season and devalue too many games to where I don't care, wake me up when it's the playoff, like the NBA type thing, right? So that's the risk there. And I'm not saying it's going there, but I'm saying that that's what you don't want it to be. Where if the only thing that we care about is the playoff, I don't know that that's going to be a healthy sport long term. So that's just the risk reward and all of this. But like in the meantime, certainly week 1 has bangers. That's fantastic. This literally might be the best week 1 ever, right? When you talk about Texas, Ohio State, talk about Clemson, LSU, you talk about Miami, Notre Dame, you talk about Belichick's
incredible.
debut, right? This is fantastic.
Don't bother me on Saturday. Like just don't even bother me.
And Sunday night, and then
Sunday night. Yeah.
and Monday night Belichick, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a
I'm hooked.
fantastic 5-day celebration of the sport, and that's great. It just needs to stay that way, and there's just a balance that has to be struck. And my fear in all of this is that the people at the top, the power brokers, start caring or continue caring more about the money, and that it risks alienating fans. And that's just not a road you want to go down.
And I get that, and I'll take that, but then I'll raise you that if you are fearful of losing a game in late August or early September, or God forbid you lose two, and not being part of the conversation for any kind of national championship, that's how I get to play Northeast Louisiana State, followed by, you know, another directional school, because I can't schedule anybody outside of the conference. And I
Right.
and I covered college football, and I'm here to tell you those games bored the snot out of me. I could not stand going to them. I had to go to them. Homecoming against East Carolina was a step up, right? Like,
Oh, for sure.
I think college football has too many of those weeks, especially if you're in these power conferences, because they don't want to play anybody.
So you're not wrong, and it's going to be interesting to see how your thought there plays out.
Because I'm a
So
consumer, right? I'm paying.
right.
I'm paying to watch this stuff. I'm paying to go to the games. I'm the person you have to attract. And if you don't have me at hello for the whole season, then I'm going to lose interest. And I know what you're saying, because look, the NFL has dealt with this too.
Mhm.
It's called oversaturation. They play on
Yes.
Monday night, they play on Thursday night, sometimes Friday, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Sunday, and then when college football is done, also on Saturday. Like, you're asking me to invest all of my time, right, into following this crazy sport. That might happen with college football, but I'm here to tell you, I get the money part of it and all of that, and greed isn't always good, no matter what Gordon Gekko said. But, like, at the end of the day, I want to turn on the TV and watch the best games I can find. I just do.
For sure. I was talking with our buddy Joey Knight about this the other day. So the SEC is moving to 9 conference games. I would expect the ACC to do that at some point soon. We'll see how that all shakes out with meetings and all that stuff. But so that's and most every conference or the power conferences, I think they're also going to have a 10th game guaranteed or required, I should say, against another Power Four opponent. So that leaves 2 spots on the calendar, right? So if Florida's playing 9 conference games, they're playing Florida State. That's 2 games that the Gators can play with. So who do they want those to be? Um, I'm sure there's a school of thought where, okay, maybe the playoff is valuing strength of schedule more. So let's play Colorado, let's play Cal, let's play Notre Dame. I think there's NC State. Those are types of games they've scheduled in the future. Maybe they do that. Maybe they say, you know what, we don't our 10 power four opponents. That's enough. We want to play a Humpty Dumpty, a Sanford, a Long Island.
LIU.
Exactly. We want to play the Sharks again. Every single year, we're going to play the Sharks, and then a USF, right? A mid major, that kind of level. So I don't know how it's all going to shake out, because there's too many moving parts. What matters in terms of the playoff? What matters in terms of TV revenue and the games that draw the ratings? What matters in terms of getting butts and seats? Because that matters more than ever now. Where you look
That's
at
right. Like, who's coming to the games, right? And Nick
correct.
Saban used to get so mad about this, right? Back in the day, because they would invariably play a team like McNeese or somebody,
Mhm.
Arkansas State, and they'd boat race them, but, like, nope, either the fans wouldn't all come or they'd start leaving at halftime, and it annoyed them. It's like, well, here's the thing: they're paying top dollar for entertainment, and if it's 56-3 at halftime, I'm gonna go hit the sorority kegger. You know what I'm saying? Like,
For sure.
what am I missing here? That's not good for college football.
No, it's not. The trade-off, though, is when you play a Humpty Dumpty, you get a win. So how much do you
We
well, I mean, this matters, right? Like
I
you
know, but maybe it shouldn't. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, it's you're not wrong. There's so many layers to this, because the smaller schools, I don't know what Long Island's getting paid by the Gators, but I have talked with athletic directors in that position in the past. It goes a long way to paying coaches, right?
7 figures.
Yeah, maybe high six, whatever it is. It's enough. It's enough to
It's enough. It's
it's
going to
enough.
finance their athletic program.
It's going to go a long way, correct.
Yeah.
So if that goes away, then how does LIU football go forward? What are the ramifications
Good,
there?
great point. That's a
And
great. Now
and
that's a residual effect of what I'm saying should happen, and it would kill those programs.
and maybe we say, okay, sorry, Sharks. Like you, if you want to continue to fund yourself, make your own money. Like
Yeah.
that's a reasonable thing, but it's part of the conversation
Right.
that we need to include in there. And then I'm I wonder about USF and where they fall into this, right? Where they're building that new stadium, and when you look at the games where they filled Ray J and got really good crowds, it was Bama, Florida, Miami. How many games against Bama, Florida, and Miami, or those equivalents, are we going to see going forward? How many of those opportunities are there? I don't know. So there's so many just different layers to all this scheduling and how it's going to go. Um, and I don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody does, because everyone's figuring out how are we paying $20.5 million to players, and that the cost is going up. Where are the what's the change under the couch cushion we can find? What are our non-negotiables? What's the easy stuff? What's the difficult stuff? And how does all this factor into the playoff and fan interest and all that stuff? It's changing, right? Like it's changing, but we're still they're building the plane as they fly it. So I don't know where it's all going to land, but I do know that week one's going to be awesome. So
Well, yeah.
we get to
And
appreciate
I
that.
want week 2 to be awesome and week 3 and right on through. And as for the change in the couch, the 20.5 million or whatever. Hey, every time I see a coach get bought out for $90 million, Jimbo Fisher still isn't coaching, is he? He's still
He,
living off his
no,
residuals.
he's joined the ACC network this year, which is very interesting to me. That's not what I would have expected for him.
Wow.
He wants to get back into coaching, is what he said, and I bet someone will give him an opportunity. But the question though is, if if we take Jimbo Fisher and take everything that happened there and transport it to last year or this year, does A&M fire him? Probably not. Like if the house settlement and paying players, if that wasn't becoming a realistic thing this time last year, like, does Billy get an extra year? Right? Like these are the types of hypotheticals. Obviously, we can't answer, but last year was a quiet coaching carousel, and it's not a coincidence, at least in my eyes, that it was a quiet coaching carousel, and everyone was getting ready to pay the players. So what does that mean going forward? I don't know. It could be that schools are actually going to be smarter about, hey, maybe we don't pay this guy $12 million not to coach. Or maybe last year was that, you know what, it's a reset, and this year it's going to be crazy, and 5 SEC coaches are going to get fired or something like that, right? And it might overcorrect the other way.
I'd be willing to bet the first exam. I'd be willing to bet that they're going to stop a lot of these buyouts. I just don't think you can pay tens of millions of dollars for guys to sit on a couch somewhere.
And
You know.
yet, Rick, that is literally what they've been doing for years.
Well, I know, and look, it's not like they're going to have less money when all these deals. Look, we kind of know where this is headed, right? It's musical chairs, and as for those small schools that are almost there, you better get on the train. You better do it fast. USF knows that. Other teams know that. Whether it's 32 team conferences or 22, 24, I don't know. The thing I would worry about, and I don't know why I'm worried about it, but I mean these are young men, and they're not professionals, even though they're getting paid. Some are getting paid like it. Is that how many games are we going to ask these guys to play?
That's a really good question.
Because that, to me, that is going to be problematic. If I'm a football player and I want to play in the NFL, of course, now you got guys staying in college till they're 26 years old because they're making more money, frankly, than the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm a football player and I'm looking forward, do I want to play 16 game season? What are we up to now? I mean, they play what, 12, 10 or 12 in the regular season, plus a couple playoff games. We're playing 14, almost 15 game seasons.
I think you can get up to 16, right?
16,
so 12 regular
that
season,
was an
conference
NFL season
championship.
5
Yeah,
minutes ago.
right. What's weird in all this too is we have to remember the players are not getting paid to play football. by and large. It
Oh,
doesn't
I
make
mean,
any
really?
it technically, if you read the contracts, it
I
doesn't
don't
make it.
care what the contracts
I
say.
know,
Listen, they're not paying me because I can hold a car wash sign. I mean, of
I
course they're
know,
getting paid to play football.
but they're technically getting paid for NIL and this, that, and
Yes,
the other.
name, image, and likeness, I've been told.
And right, and marketing and that.
Yeah.
That's the technical thing there. So I don't know how that factors into how long the season is. But at some point, we're all adults here. We're not stupid. You listening to this, you're not stupid, right? You can understand what's going on. So at some point, everyone else is going to realize this too and say, what are we doing? Right? We're paying guys money for NIL when it's not for NIL. It's to play football because they're really good at football. And let's just start doing that. At some point, it will go there. We're still in this bridge period where, again, go back 5-10 years ago, and I mean, there was the famous, I think it was UConn basketball thing where somebody got in trouble because they had cream cheese with bagels. Like that made it from took it from a snack to a breakfast, and that was a violation. Something
Oh, listen, I mean, yeah, I mean, when we look at these things now, they took Reggie Bush's Heisman away.
Mhm. Right,
You think about things like that now and you go, okay, well, wait a minute. What were we doing then as opposed to today?
right. So,
Um,
so my point is that's where we were.
yeah.
Where we are is in the middle, and where we're
Yeah.
going is players are getting a salary because they're, again, we're all grown-ups here, because they're really good football players and people want to watch them and will pay money to watch really good football players play football. So how do we get to that part? I still do not have an answer. We're closer now, but we're still pretending like we still have this fig leaf. That's the analogy I've used on the show before, but we're still pretending like it's something that it's not. And eventually we will get to that point. We're just not there yet.
We are headed to a galaxy far, far away, Matt. And
We are.
I'm just here for the ride. I'm here for it. And I'm certainly here for week 1, and I'm here for Matt Baker anytime the Athletic and the New York Times will allow us to borrow him, steal him. Otherwise, they're giving the express non-written consent to publish this podcast on any of their platforms. I'd be happy to do it. But Matt, have a great season, man. It's great to catch up with you. I'll be reading you in all my subscriptions that I get every day from your company, and happy for you. And enjoy the ACC this week. I'll leave it at that. But if you're fans of the ACC or fans of Matt Baker, make sure you check him out this weekend.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Man, that felt good. That felt like putting on a comfortable pair of jeans or something. You know what I'm saying? Like talking to Matt Baker for college football week 1. That was awesome. So follow his work in the Athletic. We have no NFL football this weekend because the preseason is over. Teams are gearing up for week 1 coming up. Of course, the Bucs at Atlanta September 8th. But we are doing some stuff with the NFL, and you can secure a piece of history. The Bucs are celebrating 5 decades of football this season, and the Tampa Bay Times, we've captured every triumphant moment, legendary player, and unforgettable season in a limited edition 176-page hardcover coffee table book that I have written most of. No, it has lots of pictures. You can pre-order them. It's called Fire the Cannons. Fire the Cannons is, as my good friend would say, and the Bucs play-by-play, Gene Deckerhoff, 50 years of Tampa Bay Buccaneers football, and you can lock in a 25% discount off the $44.95 retail price. That discount is only here until October 2nd. So here's what you do. Pre-order at this website, bucks50.pictorialbook.com. That's bucks50.pictorialbook.com. It's going to feature the photography of the Times as well as all the stories that myself, Joey Knight, John Romano have written. Experience this journey. Is well worth the while. The book is going to ship directly to you by November 14th, and that means it's a perfect gift for the holidays. That's bucks50.pictorialbook.com. Looking forward to USF Boise State. That's a great way to kick off the college football here locally for sure, and then a great week 1. Again, always great to catch up with Matt Baker. The Rays are off today. We will be back tomorrow. Of course, the Bucs begin preparing for their first game. Little extra week, little bonus week here before they play the Atlanta Falcons. We'll have all of that on Sports Day Tampa Bay. Make sure you go see our friends Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Check out all the watches, including the NFL watch that they have for 32 teams while supplies last. It's Breitling Boutique. Let them know that you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. For Steve Burstick, I'm Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.